Everyone is trying to figure out which version of the Pimax Dream Air to buy, the inside-out SLAM tracking or the dedicated Lighthouse edition. But a lot of the advice out there is based on guesswork rather than long-term testing. Now, I've spent the last few weeks putting both of these tracking systems through their absolute paces, head-to-head, and pushing them in iRacing, Assetto Corsa Evo, and also testing out the new Renault R25 F1 in Automobilista 2. And whilst uncompressed micro OLED clarity is exactly what we would expect on both, there is one huge difference in how these two handle tracking that you need to consider before making a decision. In this video, we'll be comparing field of view, stepping out of a rig to test both controller setups in Half-Life Alyx, and giving you the definitive answer on which version is actually right for your setup. Let's start with the tracking. So before we hit the track, let's clear up the hardware. Both headsets share exactly the same 3840 by 3552 Sony micro OLED panels and weigh under 170 grams. But the tracking technology changes your entire setup. The SLAM version is an inside-out headset and it uses 4 built-in cameras to track your room and includes 2 controllers in the box. You put it on and you're ready to go. The Lighthouse version, however, is a purely outside-in. It does not include controllers and it requires you to already own or buy external base stations. It's designed for absolute sub-millimeter precision, but does that actual extra precision matter when you are strapped into the sim rig? Let's find out. We're starting things in the SLAM Dream Air, and this is the newer of the 2 versions I've been testing. And boy was I shocked at how good this is. The eagle-eyed will also notice I'm also using the Studio Form X1P comfort mod with both headsets, and this is a must, and full details are in the video description of where you can get yours. Now let's talk about tracking, because I know that's the big question for anyone looking to go without base stations. Honestly, I'm massively impressed, and putting the SLAM tracking through its absolute paces here at Monaco, there's literally no difference in precision or feel compared to the Lighthouse version. You get the exact same locked-in performance right down to the finest micro movements of the wheel. Now, I have to admit, since testing first the Lighthouse version of the Dream Air, I've become a bit of a Lighthouse fanboy. But Pimax have done an outstanding job of refining their SLAM algorithm over the years, and all that hard work has clearly paid off. Whether you're pushing the R25 to the absolute limit or trying to capture perfectly steady through the lens footage, the inside-out tracking simply does not skip a beat. Now, as always, I've included some through-the-lens footage on the right-hand side of the screen so you can get an impression of how amazing this looks, and this was shot on my iPhone 17 Pro Max. And you guessed it, the performance was solid here at Monaco at 90 frames a second at 90 Hz as well. Next up, we're jumping into Assetto Corsa Evo and taking the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 out for a spin. Now, AC Evo is notoriously brutal to get running well in VR, but don't worry, as always I've got you covered. I've posted my complete optimised VR settings for this and all other major sim racing titles over on the Discord. It's completely free to join, and we've got a massive community of Pimax enthusiasts in there sharing tips, so grab that link in the description and come and hang out. As for the on-track experience, the SLAM Dream Air delivered a phenomenal run. I was locking in at around 70 FPS, and for full transparency, you can also see my exact PC specifications on screen right now. What really stood out to me here was the persistence. It was surprisingly clean with almost zero noticeable motion blur during fast cornering. Honestly, across every single title I've tested so far, this headset has completely blown me away with how well it handles the demands of high-end sim racing. Alright, switching over to the Lighthouse version, and we are kicking things off in iRacing. I've actually done separate dedicated videos covering both iRacing and Automobilista 2 with this Lighthouse model, so be sure to check those videos out too. But right here, throwing the Ferrari 296 GT3 around the tight streets of St. Petersburg in Florida, this has to be honestly one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in a sim. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Adam, who is one of the admins over in our Discord and a serious iRacing enthusiast, recently picked up a Dream Air using my discount. and completely shares this same view. Simply put, it is an absolutely electric experience. And you can see exactly what I mean by checking out that through the lens footage running now on the right hand side of the screen too. Now I'm recording this footage using the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and whilst it looks fantastic on video, it still barely scratches the surface of the uncompressed visual clarity that you get when you're actually wearing the headset. The micro OLED panels really come into their own on a tight, unforgiving track like this. The deep contrast makes the track details pop, and being able to actually pick out the braking markers with crystal clear precision gives you a huge boost in confidence. And when you are skimming millimeters from the concrete walls at St. Pete, having that locked-in Lighthouse tracking combined with this level of visual fidelity makes hitting your apexes feel completely second nature. Jumping back into Automobilista 2, this time we are behind the wheel of a Porsche 911 GT1. And once again the experience is absolutely flawless. The Lighthouse tracking has been nothing short of perfection for me, and honestly it's the small things that really add up. The headset is perfectly centered the second you put it on. There's no need to mess around setting up your room space, and the response to directional changes is lightning fast, and in intense racing scenarios like this, every single millisecond of advantage you can get makes a huge difference. But it's not just about raw competitive edge. It's about how connected you feel to the car. And when you're pushing the legendary machine like the GT1 to its absolute limits, the flawless 1-to-1 tracking means your brain instantly buys into the illusion. You can literally look through the corners and catch slides instinctively. Plus, because the external Lighthouse base stations handle all the heavy lifting for positional data, it guarantees that rock solid stability even when you're throwing complex weather and lighting effects at the sim. Over the last few months, I've been working hard behind the scenes with Pimax to support the VR sim racing community. And I want to say a huge thank you because the officially approved Pimax Sim Racing Ambassador program has been working very well so far. And I've been helping a lot of you out on the Next Level Sim Gaming Discord, and the feedback has been fantastic. But what does this partnership actually mean for you? It means you've got added reassurance. And if you run into any issues during your buying process when using my discount code, whether you decide on the SLAM or the Lighthouse edition today, I have a designated Pimax representative so I can deal with them directly on your behalf. And as always, I'm in the Discord daily to help with tracking, setup, performance settings, or just a general chat. Because of this partnership, I've secured the best stackable offers I've seen from Pimax yet. If you order a Dream Air, you get a fantastic discount. And with the Pimax Super, by using my code NLSimGaming, they are also throwing in free DMAS headphones, completely free. And if you're upgrading from an eligible headset like this Quest 3, you can also get an extra $80 off. Now the best part, all the Pimax Super offers are completely stackable, and I provided the full breakdown in the video description below. This game needs almost no introduction, but in case you are newer to the VR scene, this is the exact title that made the Valve Index sell out before it even hit the shelves. Years later, it still stands as an outstanding, iconic masterpiece and is the absolute gold standard for testing virtual reality hardware. Experiencing City 17 on the Dream Air's micro OLED panels is just jaw-dropping. The pure deep blacks in those dark, terrifying quarantine zones completely changes the atmosphere of the game. And you can also see on the right hand side of the screen, again, some through the lens footage. But the main reason we are here is to test the inside-out tracking. And I'm running the SLAM version using the included controllers. They are the very same ones you might be used to from the Crystal Super and also the Crystal Lite. Now I want to be completely straight with you. The general gameplay, the tracking on these is acceptable. They'll certainly get the job done for basic interactions, reaching over your shoulder for a magazine or casually navigating through the levels. But if you're planning on playing a lot of these sorts of active room scale titles, and you aren't just using your headset exclusively for sim race seating, you might want to hold fire. Whilst the SLAM controls are perfectly fine for casual use, they lack that absolute locked-in precision when things get frantic. If you want uncompromising accuracy for your hand tracking, wait until you see what the Lighthouse version has to offer in the very next section. Because when we switch over to the base station tracking, it becomes an entirely different ballgame. Now let's make the switch over to the Lighthouse version, and we are jumping right back into Half-Life Alyx to see exactly what that base station tracking brings to the table. Now I'll be completely honest with you, I'd never actually used the Valve Knuckles controllers or the Valve V2 base stations before buying them specifically to work with this Lighthouse Dream Air. As a dedicated sim racer, my hands are usually glued to a steering wheel, so this setup was brand new to me. But coming straight from the SLAM version to this, it almost feels like an unfair advantage for the Lighthouse model. You have to remember that this entire game was literally built from the ground up around the Valve Knuckles, so the synergy here is absolutely mind-blowing. The advanced capacitive sensors and the physical grip functionality on these controllers allows you to actually grab, squeeze and interact with objects for real, completely bypassing the clunky button presses that you get on the standard inside-out controllers. Just look at the gameplay on screen right now. It is literally like some form of voodoo magic. The headset translates my actual individual finger movements into the game in almost real time. If I wiggle my index finger or slowly close my fist, the game mirrors it perfectly. Now beyond the finger tracking, the sheer tracking accuracy of the sub-millimeter Lighthouse ecosystem is absolutely incredible. There is absolutely zero dead zone, zero drift and zero occlusion. Even if you pull your hands right up to your face or reach blindly behind your back to pull a weapon, it's flawlessly smooth. Now for me, if you're planning to branch out from the sim rig and dive into some high-end immersive room scale titles like this, the Lighthouse version stands out as a definitive choice for this very reason. It takes an already spectacular headset and pairs it with the absolute gold standard of VR interaction. Let's look at the field of view on the Dream Air Lighthouse version. Officially, the stated specs claim 110 degrees horizontal and 89 degrees vertically. However, testing it with the stock facial interface, my real-world measurements came out at 98 degrees horizontal and 86 degrees vertically. The vertical is very close to the target, but there's a noticeable drop in that horizontal stretch out of the box. But here's where things get interesting. When you swap out that stock pad for the Studio Foam X1P, the difference is night and day. With the X1P attached, I measured a vastly improved 108 degrees horizontal, and if you want to unlock this massive FOV upgrade for your own rig, remember you can also grab the Studio Foam X1P using the link down in the video description. So, on the Lighthouse version, these are the final results, tested using the thin 3mm fabric pad on the Studio Foam X1P, and keep in mind that my IPD is 67, which absolutely affects your perspective, so your mileage may vary. Now, it was no surprise at all to find that the SLAM version delivered the exact same FOV numbers, and honestly it makes complete sense. The underlying optics are identical between the two. No matter which tracking style you choose, maximizing that clarity comes down to getting your eyes into the sweet spot. So which one should you choose? And that really comes down to your current setup and exactly what you demand from your VR tracking. Now let's be completely clear. Steam VR Lighthouse tracking is the undisputed gold standard in virtual reality, and it offers flawless sub-millimeter precision, perfect one-to-one movement and absolute zero tracking occlusion. If you demand the absolute mathematical perfection in your head tracking, or if you play room scale shooters where your hands frequently leave your line of sight, nothing else comes close. And if you already own base stations and the Knuckles controllers, the Lighthouse edition of the Dream Air is the ultimate frictionless upgrade. It drops right into your existing ecosystem and delivers the absolute pinnacle of tracking performance. But what if you don't have that ecosystem? If you're strictly a sim racer, planted in a rig, or if you're moving over from a standalone headset and don't own any base stations, the SLAM version is a clear winner. You get exactly the same breathtaking visual fidelity and included controllers, but you also save yourself a massive expense of building a Lighthouse setup from scratch. Now for seated racing, the inside-out tracking holds its own brilliantly. And I think Pimax have done an incredible job with this, and I literally could not fault the SLAM tracking. It's come on such a long way recently. Now let me know which tracking system you prefer down in the comments, and don't forget to jump into the Next Level Sim Gaming Discord if you need help getting your settings dialed in. I'll catch you in the next video.